A pointer is a variable that contains a memory address. That's it. That's all you need to know about pointers. You can turn off the video now because there's nothing more I can tell you. Okay, I noticed that you didn't turn off the video. That was a good idea. Because even though pointers start out with this really simple concept, they can get really confusing, especially to people who haven't seen them before. I think that the hardest part about pointers is finding a good reason to use them, especially to people who are just introduced with this sort of nebulous abstract concept. So before I launch into the specifics of how to actually use pointers, I'll give you a few good reasons for why you would ever want a variable that contains a memory address. So let's visualize our pointer like this, right? We have this variable here. I'll represent it by a box. Instead of putting a value inside it, I'll instead have this arrow. The arrow represents that the pointer is pointing to this other value, which is somewhere else out in memory. So this variable contains a pointer that goes to this variable. Now, why would you need this? One good reason is that instead of copying an entire structure, you can just send a pointer to that structure. Say that you're doing some recursive call, and in it you're passing this really large data structure. Now, there's two ways to do this. One, you could just pass in the data structure. Let's say it's like a map or something, and then call some sort of modification on map. Well, this would run forever, but that's okay, because it's just for the general idea. The better way to do this is to instead pass in a pointer to the map. Then, when you have a call stack that gets really big, and you've called this function 100 times, then instead of copying map every time, you'll just have a lot of pointers. And since pointers are just variables that contain memory addresses and not the variable itself, you're saving a lot of space. Another good reason for pointers is if you want to have the same variable but reference it from two different places. Say that you were building some sort of maze-like game. Then you could have a cell like this and a cell like this. Now, say that each cell was responsible for the walls around itself, and that you were going in and knocking out some of the walls by cell. So this cell is responsible for this wall, but this cell is also responsible for this wall. Now, the thing is that if you're at this cell and you want to get rid of this wall, how does this cell know that the wall is gone? If you just copy the variable, it would be really kind of messy, right? Because you would have to go through all of your cells and make sure that you didn't just adjust that wall. And if you did, you would need to change it. The easier solution to this is just to make pointers to that wall. Then when you adjust one of the pointers to that wall, all of the other pointers are simultaneously changed, obviously, because you're changing the value at which they point to. So that's some intuition for why you want to use pointers.